Hello everybody. Axial lumbar interbody fusion, a critical analysis. Numerous open and minimally invasive techniques have been developed, but all of these approaches experience the same shortcomings related to biomechanics or inherent iatrogenic destabilization. Axial lift is an attempt to alleviate many of the limitations of previous lumbar fusion techniques. A presacral approach to the lumbosacral junction has been investigated. The guiding philosophy has been that the lumbar spine is a finely balanced biomechanical wonder that relies on the integration of intervertebral disc height, joint mobility, proprioception, muscle balance, and osteoligamentous constraint to allow us to function without pain. 3 patients were offered this procedure. One of spondylolysis, where it was done as a standalone procedure, and in 2 with grade 2 spondylolisthesis, which was supplemented with a posterior pedicle screw fixation. And these patients were evaluated at 6 and 3 months. The inclusion criteria included 2 years history of intractable low back pain, failed conservative management, pathology limited to L5-S1 segment, that is degenerative disc, facetal arthropathy, or up to grade 2 listhesis. The exclusion criteria included abnormal sacral anatomy, which could be a flat or a hooked sacrum, insufficient presacral fat pad, and large anomalous presacral vessels. In the preoperative planning, evaluation of the MRI for trajectory planning was done, the dynamic X-ray lumbosacral spine to look for mobility, a CT scan to determine the integrity of the L5 pars interarticularis, and preoperative measures included ball preparation, informed consent to include alternative fusion methods. This is the surgical technique. The patient has been placed prone. As you can see, the C-arm is positioned. First, the fixation is done posteriorly, and then you see the probe which is taken along the hollow of from the tip of the coccyx into the hollow of the sacrum, and finally docked at the S1 vertebral body. Then the pin is inserted into the vertebral body of S1 and taken into the intervertebral disc space. Then with serial dilators, the tract is dilated, and with a mechanical discectomy device, it is rotated and the disc space is cleared of all the intervertebral disc material. As you can see, it is all taken in a basket and withdrawn into the tract. The empty space where the disc has been taken out is filled up with bone cement. The tract is further extended into the L5 vertebral body. And finally, the axial screw implant is seen going into the intervertebral disc place connecting both the L5 and the S1 vertebral body. This is a live demonstration of the same procedure. A 1 centimeter incision is made just next to the tip of the coccyx. This is the probe which is gently passed and also assessed with the X-ray. We hook it and place it in front of the tip of the coccyx and then slowly advance it, as I had shown in the previous picture, to the S1 vertebral body. The midline is confirmed by an AP view, and then there is serial dilatation of the tract. The disc space is removed and the tract is further extended into the L5 vertebral body. The same is confirmed with the C-arm. The drill is removed, and that is the axial interbody fusion device. The implant is taken, it is fixed, and it is passed into the tract which has been created by the Seldinger technique. By gentle screwing motion, we find that the screw gets placed into the position. These are the preoperative and the postoperative images, where you can see that here is the listhesis, preoperative. Here we can see the implant which is in position. These are the MRI images where there is spondylolysis LV5, where it was done as a standalone procedure. This is the axial view, and here a case of listhesis, grade 2 listhesis. So the postoperative period, we had no neurological deficit and no complications. The pain relief assessed by the visual analog score showed that in the preoperative, the score was 8, whereas in the postoperative period, it was 4. That is significant reduction in the pain. The complications as described in the literature include incision site infection, rectal injury, pseudoarthrosis, intrapelvic hematomas, and transient root irritation. So the advantages of presacral approach include a minimally invasive procedure for L5-S1, L4-L5 interbody fusion, It prevents the anterior and the posterior musculoligamentus support structures, which provide strong ligament support for interbody fusion. It provides an alternative route in those with unfavorable anatomy. It theoretically allows a better biomechanical fusion and adjacent level motion preservation. The axially placed cages provide better resistance to translation, flexion, extension than the traditional cages. And both the procedures can be done in the same position. The limitations include a learning curve. It is applicable only a select group of patients. Used as a standalone procedure is debatable. Long-term results need to be seen. That is, does better fusion translate to better functional outcomes? And the current published literature and trials are inconclusive on long-term results. So the current status, as per the National Institute of Health and Clinical Excellence Guidelines 2011, they concluded that the current evidence on the efficacy of transaxial interbody lumbosacral fusion is limited in quantity, but shows symptom relief in the short term in some patients. So to conclude, percutaneous 360-degree axial lumbar interbody fusion supplemented with posterior fixation offers a promising minimally invasive alternative for management of lumbosacral disease. Long-term follow-up and randomized controlled trials will help in deciding the suitability of this procedure for lumbosacral disease. Thank you.